Recently, I received a rather nice surprise of having two Baptist missionaries come by my house. Now, this was a little different because normally I have Jehovah's Witnesses come by, and that's fine. I myself was raised Baptist, and so I thought it would be a nice opportunity to talk to others who were still active in the church. Even though my theology has changed quite a bit from my days of being raised as an evangelical Free Will Baptist, I knew that we still spoke the same language. And like I said, it was just a nice change from the Jehovah's Witnesses. While I was talking with the two gentlemen, and I actually gave them an hour of my time, and we had what I thought was a nice discussion, they mentioned something that I had actually never heard before. They mentioned Trail of Blood, which is a book by Dr. J.M. Carroll. And in relation to this, they were talking about how the Baptist Church and the theology encompassed by the Baptist Church had always existed separately from any other church. In relation to this, they had said something, I can't remember what, and I mentioned that, well, of course, as we came from the Catholic Church and the Protestant Reformation, and they said, no, 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 that's not the case. And then they brought up this book and so on. And even though I was raised in the church and all of my family were members of the Baptist Church, I had never heard of this before, and I had never heard of Baptist Successionism. And I don't know how I made it to this age without ever hearing of this. So there wasn't a lot that I could say back to this other than it didn't sound quite right. I've actually gone through higher education with a degree in partially in church history and theology. And so I knew that I would have heard something about a church being separate from the mainline Catholic Church, which was originally, of course, the only Christian church, and then the Protestant Reformation started by Martin Luther. So I went and I checked up on the book, and I found out that the book Trail of Blood by J.M. Carroll encompassed the theories originally put forth by James Robinson Graves that amounted to what's called Baptist Successionism. And the idea behind this is that, at least the idea espoused by Dr. Graves, is that this general theology that the modern Baptist Church currently accepts as their own has been around since the founding of the Christian Church in Jesus' day with Paul and with the direct apostles and the disciples under Jesus. And it's always been around in some form or another in these little splinter groups that were apart from the mainline church, which would eventually be known as the Catholic Church. And then after the Catholic Church went through the Protestant Reformation and the Protestants split off from it, that these groups were still separate from the mainline Protestant churches, and that these groups eventually became what we know as the modern Baptist Church. Therefore, the theology encompassed by these groups has always been separate from the mainline church. Therefore, this theology is the one pure line of Christian teaching dating all the way back to Jesus, or at least to the apostles and to the disciples, all the way to today. And Dr. James Carroll, in his book Trail of Blood, created a very useful little chart that has made it around to different churches, apparently. And he charts out all these different groups that have existed over time, going up through mainly what gets talked about a lot are the Anabaptists, but there were the Doceticists and there were others before that. And I'm not going to actually go into the details about this because another YouTube user, Labarum312, is doing a really wonderful series of videos talking about the King James version of the Bible, the way that it's viewed as the only version of the Bible, and then he has one video where he directly talks about this timeline. So I'd refer you to his video very briefly. But if you want to go into an in-depth study of this, I found that the book that answers Trail of Blood, and that discredits this book, is James Edward McGoldrick's Baptist Successionism, and I'll put his name and the title of the book into the information about this video. So, in looking over the research, the supposed research, done by Carroll and Graves, and that makes up this theory of Baptist Successionism, and then reading through all of the really, really excellent work done by McGoldrick, and it's actually not that big of a book in McGoldrick's book, it really pointed out how bad the scholarship is that goes into this idea of Baptist Successionism. In a nutshell, what's being done is that Graves, Carroll, and others who ascribe to Baptist successionism take any group that splintered off from the mainline churches, no matter what that group's theology actually was, as long as they were accused of or actually did do some sort of baptizing of adults. As long as they did that, then this group was named a Baptist by anybody who believes in Baptist successionism. This is really poor scholarship. It's either ignorance to a stunning level, or it's flat out lying to try and set aside this bizarre separate theology that's never had anything to do with the mainline church and just trying to say the Baptists are the ones who've always believed this. It's just bad. It's bad scholarship, and it's embarrassing as a Baptist to read this and to know that people actually believe it. I found out in my research that the book Trail of Blood is just not held in any sort of respect by any mainline theologians or churches, and actually the copyright is currently held by a Baptist church, so it's really only small groups of churches that still ascribe to this. The two guys who came to my door and who were very nice for me to talk to were really excited about this information, that somehow this was real. And of course, if this was real, I would be all over it. I'm a Baptist. I would love to be able to say that we've been around separate from the Catholic Church, separate from the Protestant Revolution, the Lutherans and the Presbyterians and the Methodists and all the rest of them, and that we always were, our own church. That's pretty cool. And if that was true, I would be all over it. But I'm also not really, really dumb. And so in looking it over, I have to say that, no, that's not the case. I'm proud of our heritage. I'm proud of the heritage of the Baptist Church and the way that it's developed, and I'm proud of mostly of what we are today. I don't have to ascribe to this little mythology and this mythos that we've always had the best idea. There was just no need for that. And I'm embarrassed that there's other Baptists going around promoting this. And so I'd like to answer to the two gentlemen that came to my door and to anyone who actually backs this idea. Please stop. As one Baptist to another, as a Free Will Baptist to another, as a former evangelical conservative Baptist from Kentucky to another, stop promoting this. It makes us look really stupid. It's not true. It's so not true. It takes all of like 5 minutes to look up the actual history of the Baptist Church and to see where we came from and to see that we came directly out of the Reformation. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We're still Christians. We're still part of the church in one form or another. It's fine. There's no need to go to this mythos that we've always been separate and therefore really special, and so you have to listen to us. And it really bothered me a lot. So to everyone who's interested in this whole Baptist successionism thing, I'll put the links into the notes on this video, and please check out Labarum 3112's videos. I think he's doing a great job. And if you want to take the time, just go research in any well-stocked library or go on Amazon.com and find some books on the history of the church, the history of the Christian church, and so on, and really educate yourself. It's a shame that there's so much ignorance about. So from one Baptist to another, I'm happy being Baptist, but we weren't all that special. Thanks.